So, I wanted to give a little narration of what's going on here through this time lapse. I obviously have already finished this building, but I just want to show you guys what went into the creation of the rest of this. As you can see, I'm working on putting the roofs together. Um, it's a little hard sometimes to figure out exactly which piece that you want to use. They don't always line up exactly how you would like them to. And then you also have the issue with not finding the right material for a piece of roof. Problem I ran into is that there's no flat, at least I haven't found a flat piece of roof tile for the Western theme. So I wanted to use all tin roof here, but I couldn't find really the piece that I was looking for that was just flat. All of them are angled. So I had to figure out a way I wanted to uh, complete that, and so I just went ahead and did a second layer of the angled roof to create a higher pitched. The smaller ones were a little easier. Um, I just think I just ended up deciding on doing two side pieces that are angled and then using the flat uh, roof piece to fill in the gaps. I wasn't really too concerned since you're really not going to see it a whole lot behind the building, at least from a guest perspective while playing. Obviously, the aesthetic doesn't exactly match, and I really like it too, but maybe that'll come in an update later on. This bigger building, I wanted to. I thought originally about doing it to adding a balcony to it, but the way it's laid out, I decided against it. And then I found these corner pieces that I thought might be easier to use, but then I realized that they are at a different pitch angles than the other pieces that I originally had on there. So I went through and deleted those and used the higher pitch all the way around, and then just attached those pieces to complete the roof section. Again, though, I'm left with this flat part at the top that I didn't really care for, but for now, I think that's what I'll stick with. I may go back and change those later on. And then just filling in the last little details so you don't have any openings on the back side of this roof, and close it off. Even though you're not going to really see it, but out of practicality, I guess. I don't know. OCD. Anyway, so go back to finishing the last little building that I had here. Kind of did the same principle I did on one of the other smaller buildings, just the angled roof to the back, filling in the sides with these triangle wood pieces to fill in the holes. Those aren't always available in the size and shape that you need either, and finding ones and figuring out ways to connect them can be a little challenging sometimes. One thing I noticed that I missed, at least I could have sworn was in the beta, is that these pieces, these tiles, specifically the roof ones, could be rotated on all the axes, not just X. Uh, so I'm going back through and I decided to go ahead and make the paths kind of more of this natural look instead of the cobblestone that I originally picked out in the first video. Thought it kind of went with the Western theme a little bit better. And then I'm going through and deciding to go ahead and kind of detail out some of these buildings. They're not quite finished, I don't think, but I definitely wanted to add some more detail to make them look a little better, to finish them up, add some more polish. I put those uh, overhangs on each of the buildings, extended out a couple of them, and then was going to thought about putting like porch actual on the floor underneath, but since there's a path limited, I didn't really think that was really necessary. I also like these old western signs. I believe these can be customized too to add your own text. So I went ahead and added each of those to the buildings. Went ahead and found some old-timey western windows that are available in the game and added those to buildings. And I thought a nice little detail would be to add these kind of log cabin wood poles along the outside as decoration, kind of give it a little more wood cabin western feel, I guess. And then I detailed those out on believe all the buildings here. Each of those pieces basically have to be put into place individually and aligned with the advanced move tool. There's no snap to edge either, which would be really nice. I don't know if that'll come in a later update, but like a snap to corner or snap to edge would be nice to not have to worry about finding the exact corner to line it up. The detail advanced move and copy tool comes in handy as well, so you can line up things. And then I took those same exact like wood posts that were detailing the walls on the outside and decided to go ahead and use those for the columns to hold up the overhangs of these buildings. And I did that to all of them and just copied and or duplicated and moved those and placed each one of those. They may end up clipping a little bit on some of the characters depending on how much of a crowd is in front of those buildings, since those are on the inside a little bit of the pathway there. They looked a little bit better than placing them on the outside and having the tops extrude out from the overhang so you could see them. They just look a little bit more concealed and a little more natural placing them where they are now, despite them probably clipping through some of the characters. And then after this, I went ahead and found some props and added some scenery, like a watering trough, and I think I ended up with this nice little like corral, ranch entryway that for the entry of the park. I wish there was a little bigger one, but I guess I could always custom make one. And I use these little hitching posts to kind of decorate on either side of these entryways. I'm not really sure what happened here, but somehow in changing the path type, I inadvertently created an opening in the path, like I added another piece. So I got to go back and color over the terrain that's on the outside of that path to match. Added these nice little light poles to kind of light up the pathway at night. Big cable spool. And then I was trying to figure out how to do this clock, which I ultimately ended up using later on. Added this nice water tower, gives a nice little detail, and same with this wind vane. Just going through and looking at some of these other details. I really want to add this clock and was able to finally rotate it on the correct axis and get it added to the side of this building. And then I think that's almost everything I added. That's right, there's kind of this little campsite over here next to this wind vane, this little cooktop, makeshift stove, and tent. And then I think I add a little campfire next to it, as if someone was staying there cooking. And then a nice little lantern next to the tent itself as some additional light during the evening. And then what I talked about early on in the video moved on to the steam locomotive, kind of like the slow transportation ride that gets you around the outside of the park. And I'm planning right here to kind of give some other maybe more family-friendly rides on that side, extend it out and around over here by the gorge that we cut out, and have it ride right along the edge so you can look out over and down into the gorge, which ultimately will have some sort of roller coaster down there that's custom built that weaves in and out of that gorge, and then shoot back through the other side of that mountain ridge. We'll have some other rides, and then we go through the ridge itself, tunnel through up and over the entry path, which I thought was pretty cool, which works well, kind of mimics how Disney World here in Central Florida has it. That first entryway, once you get through the ticket gate, there's the steam locomotive at that central station there right at the front that you can get on. And it's a nice little touch. The autocomplete was a little wonky here, couldn't figure out how to connect it. I had to go back and revamp the angle that this track came back into the station on. So here is the final result. I built out the entry and exit way, which I may go back and redo. The final track configuration, the entryway there, that ranch style arch over the top, the buildings with all the details of the windows, the overhang, the sign, and then you have the water tower there, the wind vane, that little campsite. The tent had to ultimately end up being moved a little bit to allow the train track to go through behind it because of the angle that it was coming in on. And then if you zoom out, you can see all the track, how it goes all the way around the outside of the park, comes back through that mountain there, and then connects through across the path into the other little mountain range and back to the station. I may end up having to revamp this entry and exit way a little bit. I'm not really keen on how it's set up now. However, I may leave it and just build a nice little like wooden building around it to make it look a little more like an actual train station from back in the day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this time lapse, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.